So after a couple more scenes that go nowhere and add nothing, we're back with Barbossa and Salazar. And the movie takes a breather to explain the backstory between Salazar and Jack's beef. Back in Salazar's glory days, he used to be an infamous pirate hunter. But again, you wouldn't really know that unless you had the subtitles on.
The last ones joined together to try and defeat me. But they soon realized he was hopeless. The last ones joined together to try and defeat me. The last ones joined together to try and defeat me. But they soon realized he was hopeless. The last ones joined together to try and defeat me. But they soon realized he was hopeless.
Okay, so apparently in this scene, what he's trying to say is, the last ones tried to band together to defeat me. Javier Bardem speaks better English than I do. I should be able to understand what he's saying.
Well, it took me a little while to adjust to the time frame, in the sense that I think it was like around 3 hours, 30 minutes every day for the makeup.
Hit them below the waterline! Up!
Again, I'm not sure why, but this shitty kind of mixing only happens when Salazar is talking. Like, I showed these clips to one of my friends who was coming in from out of town as a joke, but she's worked on film sets and she told me that this kind of shit mixing can only happen when there are multiple editors. And she was right. This movie had not one, not two, but 3 editors. So the point of this segment is to show how Javier Bardem got to be in the Cursed Cove from the beginning of the movie, and how it all came down to a game of chicken where Jack pulled a Yui at the last second to trap him in there. This flashback is supposed to fill in the gaps for the audience, but if anything it leaves me more confused about the situation. So the rocks were cursed before Salazar was even there? Like, they were just a bunch of cursed rocks that were just sitting around? Like, what's the mythology here? Is every ship that goes in there cursed? If so, why is Salazar in charge of all the people who go in there? Like, how big is this place? Is he just in charge because he's the biggest asshole? Like, is he the only ship left in there? There's some other shipwrecks. Why did none of the people in there get cursed? Or did he just kill all of them somehow, even though they're like undead or whatever? Are the cursed rocks somehow related to the compass? How? Why? I need a little bit of information to care about this movie. It would be nice if someone could explain these things. My brain hurts. So in this scene, not only are we expected to believe that this compass is somehow related to these cursed rocks that weren't cursed by Javier Bardem, but were already cursed, but they went in anyways, but that some useless twink came up with a genius plan in 5 seconds, and everyone on the ship went along with it, and it somehow worked, and this movie's antagonist gets enough of a glimpse of him that he swears revenge. It's not an over-exaggeration to say that this movie is asking a lot of its audience. Okay, so now we get something that reboots are doing that make me want to stab myself repeatedly. It's something I called backsplaining. Like explaining a prop or costume that doesn't really need a backstory because it serves a narrative purpose and no explanation was needed. Sometimes it can be cool. This is stupid. We didn't need to know where he got that ivory thing, or the hat. I don't have a dramatic backstory for every bra that I own. Sometimes you just have things. So Lady Sexy Lamp and her Bible Black Club look at the book and she's like, we need to go that way, and they're like, okay. But before we can move on to the plot of the actual movie, Disney has decided to share with us this very appropriate for all ages scene.
Questions are precise and true. I'm not only an astronomer, I'm also a horologist.
No shame in that, dear. I mean, we all have to earn a living, eh? Wasn't it?
No, I'm a horologist.
So was my mum, but she didn't crow about it as loud as you.
Are you saying your mother was academically inclined?
More like horizontally reclined.
Horology is the study of time.
And she was always looking at her watch.
Five jokes at the expense of sex workers. Wah-ah-ah. Remember recently when Disney took the wives' sale out of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride because it was disrespectful to women? Did the people making this film not get the memo about respecting women?
Your character, Karina, is absolutely ahead of her time. What was fun about playing her for today's audiences, and how do you think they'll relate to her?
I think they're going to love it. I think they're going to really relate to seeing a young woman who's so determined, who is so progressive.
Ship to the air!
Oh, okay, I get it. This scene was just pointless filler before they said, oh no, we're being followed. And then Jack and Karina and Will 2.0 get in the boat. For no reason, Karina decides that she's going to swim to shore instead of staying on the boat, and oh my god, she's getting sexualized again? What is this, anime?
I think they're gonna really relate to seeing a young woman who's so determined, who is so progressive.
Okay, so anyway, she starts swimming, and credit where credit is due, this is a really cool concept. What's scary on land? Zombies. What's scary in the ocean? Sharks. Stephen King whomst? So after my entire life and probably $3 million worth of special effects, they get to the island. The ghosts can't run on land, so they run into the jungle, and then they get captured, and then we get the greatest scene of the movie! So Jack wakes up, and now for some reason he's getting married to this woman who, oh my gosh, ha ha ha, so funny. Women, am I right? God, this movie goes out of its way to hate women in a completely unnecessary scene. They spend all this time dicking around on the island with these people. Do you all live here? Oh, and of course we needed an outfit change for Karina, and of course it was from blue to coral. Barbossa wedding crashes just so that he can get Jack, and what? Okay, so the whole point of being on this island was just to get Jack and Barbossa together? This movie overcomplicates things. Like, it wants certain things to happen in a plot, and I get it. Sometimes when you're writing a story, you can come up with a lot of contrivances, but that's why you, have an editor, or a second screenwriter, or just anyone who will tell you no. So anyways, now they're sailing towards the whatever, and now these two are talking, because I guess they're love interests. Who fucking knows?
This is the worst apology I've ever heard.
Apology? Why would I apologize?
Because we've been chased by the dead, sailing on a ship raised from a bottle. Where is your science in that?
Fine. I will apologize.
Go on, then.
Although one could argue that you owe me an apology, as my life has been threatened by pirates and dead men.
Which you now believe in, sorry to say.
Apology accepted.
These two are like a poor man's Scully and Mulder. No, I take that back. Take a poor man's Scully and Mulder, and then get a poor man's version of that. That's what these two are. Are we supposed to like these two? Or, think that they belong in a relationship? I mean, they've spoken, a couple of times, sure, but I don't know. Have they been through enough to, grow on each other? Yeah, I get it. It's hard to, write a romance in the middle of, crazy things happening. But if you want a romance in the middle of crazy things happening, you kind of have to have the two connect over those things. Okay, I mentioned Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese earlier. Okay. So the reason that they eventually trust each other is not only, there are crazy things happening and, oh, she finally has to believe him about all these crazy things happening, but they actually, help each other. Kyle protects Sarah. What happens with these two? I don't know, maybe Henry could have, been the one to get them away from all those crazy people at the wedding, or maybe he could have had, a sword fight to keep some of those, demon pirates away from her. Maybe he could have harpooned the sharks while they were in the boat together. I mean, just, something that kind of, prove his worth in her eyes. Something that would make her go, oh, I misjudged him. He's actually so brave, but they haven't really done anything. Stuff just kind of happens around them. Oh, God. Anyways, okay, let's get to this next thing, which is honestly the stupidest thing about this movie. And that's saying a lot because the bar was already really low. So Barbossa rolls up and he's like, hey, what's that book? That looks familiar. And Karina's like,
This was given to me by my father. He's clearly a man of science.
Oh, so you're an orphan. What be you called?
Brightest star in the north gave me my name.
That would be Karina.
Karina Smith. So you do know your stars?
I'm a captain.
oh, so he knows the stars. Has anyone accused him of being a witch?
Smith? Smith is quite an unusual name. Did we not once know someone called Smith?
It turns out that Barbosa is Karina's dad. He explains that when Karina's mother died, he left Karina at an orphanage with the book, in the hopes that the ruby might get her some money eventually, and that he never expected her to take seriously any of those scribblings. So before we get into the main event, I have a few quick questions. Number 1, Jack, you can't even remember the name of your own crew. How do you remember the ex-girlfriend of a man you barely see and don't really care about? Number 2, that's not an uncommon name. In fact, it's extremely common, and even though the movie spells it with a Y, it's still a very common name. Number 3, how did you know her name? I mean, did you read it in the... Oh my god, is that it? Oh, computer, enhance. God damn it. Okay, where did this come from? What about, like, what? So the way that Karina talks about her dad, you'd think that she was raised by her dad who mysteriously disappeared one day or some shit, but she has literally never met him in her working memory. He dumped her as a baby in a basket, and she bases her entire personality on shit that she can't confirm at all.
Left to me by my father. He believed I could find what no man has ever found. I will not let him down. This was given to me by my father. He was clearly a man of science.
So she's going on this adventure for reasons that don't make any sense. The entire plot of this movie is based on a misunderstanding of the material that was written for this movie. And now we're supposed to be emotionally invested in the fact that this character that we already know and this cardboard box, who we barely know, are related. Thanks, guys. Great script. I mean, so long as a parent and a child relationship is involved, you can make any action of a Caribou justifiable. Why does anyone go to film school? When all you need to do to fart out a $271 million movie is make a bunch of sex jokes and make somebody be somebody else's parent. It's so fucking easy!
She comes, starboard! We shall fight to the last!
Yo, listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world. And all day and all night, everything he sees is just blue. Like him, inside and out. I'm blue, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die, da-ba-dee, da-ba-die.
Remember in the first movie, like, there were some unbelievable stunts, but, you know, they were still at least, like, a little bit reasonable. What's this? Just a bunch of shit made on a computer. Not that there's anything wrong with doing stuff on the computer, but when that's all your movie has to offer, on terms of visuals, it can get really exhausting. This scene was supposed to be really tense. Instead, I'm just really bored. And also, I can't see anything. This movie is way too blue. Like, okay, like, not to be a total brat, but, like, right now I'm using iMovie, and they've got, like, some preset little filters, like, ooh, vintage, that looks pretty cool, romantic, I used that earlier. Like, you were filming kind of in the dark already, so it already looked pretty good, and even if I just adjust the blue and the darkness, it looks like nighttime, but it still looks pretty good. And, ooh, white balance. I wonder... Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so much better. I can fucking see what's happening in the scene. God. And look, to the people who edited this movie, like, I'm not trying to be like a total brat and say that, like, I could do better, because clearly I can't. I'm working on iMovie. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a professional editor, but this is just something about this movie that really frustrated me, is this obsession with using the blue and teal color palette. Because some movies can use it and it can be very, very beautiful, and in fact, the first movie used it, but you can still see what's happening. It's just there's a difference between trying to make the movie visually appealing and being so obsessed with a very binary color palette that you destroy the footage that you have. Anyways, I think that's enough rambling for now. I'll see you guys around in part 5.